On this week's Wisdom Wednesday, I'm going to have a little bit of an opinion piece about what makes a great coach great. I'm going to be 34 and I've had coaches my entire life from the age of T-ball at like 3 to professional athlete coaches for CrossFit. So I've had my fair share of coaches, played 3 sports in college. So here are all of the attributes I gained from all of my different coaches and why I think a great coach is great. Number 1, they care about you as a person and as an athlete. So this goes a little bit outside of the gym or the court, but they actually care that you're like a successful and person who carries high morale outside of your sport. They get you to believe in yourself. They inspire you. They motivate you to be better than yesterday. Sometimes we don't do a very good job of believing in ourselves, and sometimes we need that person in our life that says, you know what, you're going to do this. You might not do this today, but like, you will do this. Number 3, they help you keep life in perspective when sometimes like all you think is like, man, I missed that layup at the end of the game and my life is going to end. They help you keep into perspective that like, that was 30 seconds in time and life moves on and you will play another game. Or if you don't make a lift that you want to lift and you've been working super hard on it, it's a lift. It's a barbell. Life goes on. Get over it. Sometimes they have to give you tough love in that, and that is perfectly acceptable. Sometimes as athletes, we don't want to hear it at the time, but it is something that we have to work with. They don't let their egos and self-worth get tied up in the outcome. Sometimes I have had coaches like this where they were so caught up in the win, they would do it at any cost. And to me, as an athlete, that wasn't acceptable, and it defeated some of my morals and my moral compass. And I just decided that wasn't the best approach for me in that aspect. Number 5, they understand individual athletes' differences. And this is difficult as a coach because everybody needs something a little bit different. And when you're catering to a team, it's hard to search out like individuals in that team. I've coached team sports, I've coached individual sports, and doing stuff in a group is harder. It can be done, but you also learn a lot in that. In understanding individual athletes' needs, it doesn't mean the coach is always going to give you what you want. Sometimes they're going to make you be patient. Sometimes they're going to make you work for it. But in all of those things, they're making you understand a bigger part of life, not just the here and the now. Number 6, they effectively teach a movement or a skill. They see it and then they correct it. Being able to teach a movement's great. Being able to demo a movement's great. But if you can't see it and you can't correct it, you're not going to coach here. So if you're great at being an athlete and as a coach and you make layups and you make all these moves, but you don't know how to teach a movement to your athletes or help them correct it to improve upon it, you're not a great coach in my book. Number 7, they lead by example. They walk the walk. They live for fitness and nutrition in our world of CrossFit. They eat the right things. They show up and they do their workouts. They work on themselves, both inside and outside of the gym. As I mentioned before, when you walk the walk, it doesn't mean that your coaches have to be the best athletes. It doesn't really mean that they need to be a great athlete at all. My husband reminded me that one of the greatest Vikings coaches of all times, who came a field goal away from the Super Bowl, Denny Green. Denny Green was not a great athlete. He could barely move. He could barely run, but he was a really great coach. And so getting your team members to do what you want them to do doesn't mean you have to show them the way. It means we want them to live that way, but it doesn't mean you have to show them. Talk about great coaches in CrossFit. I'm talking, there's a lot of great coaches out there. There's a couple that coach some very high-level skilled athletes. I'm going to talk about CJ Martin and Ben Bergeron. Although they get their workouts in and they do their thing, are they the top athletes? Definitely not. But they know how to produce really great athletes. And so that's mental, physical, psychological, mental well-being. They do all of that. So in my opinion, you do not have to be a great athlete to be a great coach. Most great coaches are not good athletes. And most great athletes, not very good coaches. Number 8, they challenge the athletes and themselves. So if you get stagnant in where you're at in life, you're probably not going to be a great coach, and you're not challenging yourself, and you're probably not challenging your athletes. So constantly trying to grow and continue to be better than yesterday shows me that they're a great coach.